Good morning, my beautiful people. How are you today? It's another spectacular autumnal day here in Europe. Apologies to all the Americans out there who probably get confused by me talking about autumn. I know you guys call it the fall. But it's interesting right now. It's almost as if the Great Spirit has spoken and said that winter is almost ready and the animals must prepare themselves for it, because there's a real tranquility about the world today, almost as if the snow before the snow, where that blanket of silence has just smothered the earth, and there's a little bit of extra freshness in the air, a little bit of sparkle. It's so beautiful. I've heard a lot of people complaining about this second lockdown, saying that it's just not the same as the first one. Well, one, it's not new, we get that. Two, they're sick of the virus, which is totally understandable. But three, they're struggling to see themselves for the next 3 or 4 months locked in their houses. And it made me smile because I was thinking about the animals and how, although we can't necessarily understand what animals say, they don't really seem to complain. And so many animals hibernate. It's so natural to them. They embrace it. The squirrel stores all his acorns. The bear gets himself ready and feasts himself on as much as he can before going into that nice, cozy little den. And really it feels like we should be doing the same. What an opportunity this is to get close to our families, to get cozy, or to spend some time by ourselves. All the great writers and creatives and artists, the winter months are the months when we really start to do our greatest work. All the great books were written in deepest winter. And I think we should look at lockdown as an opportunity rather than something that holds us back. Perhaps a lot of us are just still living in that reptilian brain, the lower chakras. The reptilian brain is the brain for survival. It's all about instinct. And really it was designed for the days when we lived in the forests and there were jaguar lurking and lions and tigers, and wherever we lived on the planet, there was always something which could potentially threaten our survival, because we had to hunt for food, we had to take those risks, but we always had to have that awareness. The issue is now we live at home and there's very rarely an opportunity for that fight or flight, that beautiful survival instinct to kick in. And perhaps when it does, because our lives are so less endangered, unfortunately the reptilian brain kicks in at the wrong time and starts stressing us out just over real life, over conversations, over things that happen in the house, when really these are not things that are going to threaten our survival, our lives, our livelihoods. These are things that are just everyday activities. And if you're stuck in that reptilian brain, which reacts to small things in a way that we would have normally in the past reacted to times when our life is under threat, then we end up in a very strange environment. And that probably explains why there's so many divorces in the world these days and so many relationship breakdowns. And all this horrible violence that we hear of in the house is probably an expression of the frustration that humans show and how some of us haven't adapted to life coming from the heart, from that eagle perspective. There's still a lot of people out there who haven't got in touch with their emotional side, the limbic brain. Now, the limbic brain is more about emotion and expressing yourself. And generally, women seem to be better at tapping into this part of the brain. But when you start to go on that journey of awakening, that journey where you really start to find yourself and express yourself and get that creativity moving, well, that's the limbic brain really starting to kick in. And it's a brain that was also called the mammalian brain, because whereas the reptilian brain is all about what lizards do, cold-blooded survival, the mammalian is an advancement of life on Earth and the evolution of animals, where they start to show love for their young, which is why that women probably adapt to this brain or tune into this brain a lot more easily. But the other part of the brain is the neocortex. Some people call it the thinking brain. But this is a part of your brain which can also show you just how extraordinary you are, because it can take you to whole new levels. This is the part of the brain which can demonstrate to you that nothing is impossible. And while the emotional brain, or the limbic brain, can help you to understand love, the neocortex can help you to understand how limitless your potential can be. And very few people are really tuned into this part of the brain. Because if you can open up this part of the brain in combination with the limbic brain, then suddenly the artist grows wings, and you don't just paint a painting, You paint something extraordinary because you come from the heart, but you also have this capacity, this limitless capacity to deliver incredible pieces of work. This is the imagination. This is the part of you which connects with the deepest aspects of your soul, where you can download things from the 7th, 8th and 9th chakra, which are in that great archive of mystery and mystics and magic. This is where the untapped potential lies. And when you go into lockdown, this is an area that you want to activate, because if you've always dreamed about something exceptional, of standing out from the crowd, of doing something unique, of putting your own footprint on this generation, of helping people in a way that they've never been helped before, of expressing yourself on a level which is far beyond what most humans think is even possible. This is Mozart with his music. This is Da Vinci with his paintings and his codes. This is Jung with his dreamology. This is Einstein with his theories, not his scientific theories, but his theories about philosophy. This is Nostradamus about predicting the future. And yes, a lot of people think that these people were freaks of nature. These were people who always had a capacity to deliver things on an extraordinary level. These are people who were born once every century. But you know what? You can be that person too. The first thing we have to do is we have to make sure our hippocampus is repaired. All those free radicals can really be quite abusive towards this part of the hippocampus. So it's very important that we take the right supplements and we eat the right foods and we have the right diet so that we can rebuild that part of the brain. It's a part of the brain that looks a bit like a seahorse, because hippocampus, or hippocamp, is the Greek for seahorse, and the person who discovered this part of the brain wanted to name it after that. But once we've repaired the brain by having the right diet, and I know there's a lot of people on the Sacred Pause who can give us this advice, and we'll do an Epiphany series about it very soon. But we also have to learn to access these parts of the brain and to make sure they're all functioning together. And this is a combination of making sure our chakras are clear. It's about trying to live in that meditative state, not necessarily meditating constantly, but just taking those 3 deep breaths when you need to. And just always giving yourself space to breathe, connecting with nature. Always been in a sacred space, but slowing down and seeing the gaps in life, the opportunities. But actually this is about not picking up a piece of paper and a pen, not preparing for a meeting with guidelines and limiting yourself, not trying to get your ideas into a box, but actually trying to get it outside the box by putting 0 limit on what you're going to do. And a lot of people's issues is they often don't look at life as a blank canvas. They look at it as something where they have limited options. I was always frustrated at school when the careers person would walk into the room and say, so this is what you can be. You can be a teacher, or you can be an accountant or an estate agent, or you can be as a solicitor or work in legal or become a doctor. And I just felt that there was a box and you had to pick one of the things from the box. And this is all well and good for a lot of people because it helps them find a little bit of direction. But with me, I was always, hold on, what if I don't want to do any of these things? What if I want to follow my heart? I want to do something different. I imagine if Einstein had had a conversation with his careers advisor, he would have had a few things to say about that. But what I'm trying to say is, when you're doing a drawing and you have a blank piece of paper, don't limit yourself on drawing the things that you've been taught to draw. Maybe you've only ever drawn a house or a person or your family or what's been in front of you. But what about if on that blank piece of paper you just started drawing and you don't even necessarily know what you're drawing, but you just let your heart flow into your hands as you start to draw? When you do that, sometimes the most extraordinarily beautiful things appear. That's what I would call magic, and that is accessing the imagination, the neocortex. And that's how the great mystics, how the great philosophers, how the great artists of the past delivered these majestic masterpieces of whatever it was they were doing. And what about if you looked at life like that? not just your career, or not just the painting you're about to paint, or the piece of music you're about to play. What if you looked at life from that perspective too? Rather than seeing life as a series of options, as a series of patterns, as a series of doing the things that you've done before because you like them. What about if life was a completely open book with no words and limitless possibility? How would you live your life? What are the weakest parts of the human DNA, of the genetic coding, the glitch in the system? Is that feeling of limitation? Is that feeling that we're only human? And we have all these rules and limitations. Humans can't fly. Who says we can't fly? Humans can only run so fast. Who says that? My personal feeling is that there is absolutely nothing that is impossible. I actually believe that humans are only tapping into about 2% of their potential. We have so much ability. I really truly believe we could have conversations without talking. If we really tuned in, if we really focused, and we came from the heart, we came from a place where we wanted to heal people. And I truly believe that we can see other dimensions in very silent moments. Some quite extraordinary things have happened to me. I saw my daughter before she was born. I've seen people's illnesses. I've seen different possibilities for the future for different people. I've seen the future happening before it happened. And that was when I didn't really focus. I wasn't really knowing what I was even doing. And it just made me think, what is the true capacity of a human being? And why do we even think of ourselves as human beings when actually we are souls who've come down from who knows where? And in that place, there's no doubt that we don't have bodies. And so we probably do communicate through other means than just talking or writing or singing. So today I just want you to think about the possibilities of your life, about how extraordinary you truly are, and about what you could achieve if you went into life taking away all the limitations with that blank canvas, and when you just focus through your heart. Don't limit yourself through your human knowledge and your human body. Open yourself up to the great archive of wisdom, to the limitless potential, to the magnificence of you, and just see where it takes you, because who knows, in 150 years you could be the next Mozart, the next Picasso. But it isn't for the glory you're going to do it. You're going to do it because deep in your heart you know exactly what it is that you can bring to this planet, that you can bring to this lifetime. And I have no doubt that on the Sacred Pause we have some truly magnificent people. You show it to me every time we have a healing laboratory, and I see it day after day with all those incredible posts, the creativity, the imagination, the extraordinariness, the beauty. Well, I think we can take that even further, and I believe in you. Thank you for listening today. Have an extraordinary day. Thank you so much for listening. Love and peace. Peter. Namaste.